Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the information session for the 2025 Artist Support Grant application. I will jump right in, but first I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Kelly Schrader, and I'm the Community Arts Coordinator for United Arts, and I'm the direct contact for this program. So if you do have any questions, if you need assistance with your application, or if you have any accessibility requests, you may reach out to me. I did just drop my email in the chat. You can also see it on my screen here. And before we get started, I want to make sure everyone can hear me okay, everyone can see my screen. All right, awesome. I will go ahead and dive right in. So in today's session, I'll be talking about the Artist Support Grant Program, eligibility requirements for applicants. I'll go over the application itself as well as the application review process. We will have time at the end for questions, so feel free to hold questions until the end or drop them in the chat as we go so you don't forget about them, and I will respond to them at the end of the presentation. If you have extremely specific questions about your individual application or proposal, I encourage you to reach out to me directly via email so that we can discuss your application one-on-one after the session. I also did just drop my email in the chat. This session will be recorded and posted to the United Arts website and YouTube page for continued reference. There are auto-generated captions available for your use if you click the CC icon on your screen to enable those. And again, we will have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation, so feel free to submit any questions in the chat as we go. If you need a Spanish version of this session, that recording is already available on our website and YouTube channel. I am dropping that link in the chat as well. Real quickly, for those of you not aware of United Arts or who we are, I just wanted to mention that United Arts offers all kinds of support to the county through schools, arts organizations, municipalities, and individual artists. We manage the Artists in Schools program, multiple grant programs for organizations and towns, arts integration programs for educators. We have a Wake Murals program that places murals around the county, as well as our Piedmont Laureate program, and of course, the Artist Support program that we're going to talk about today. United Arts manages the Artist Support Grant Program, which is funded by United Arts, the North Carolina Arts Council, and Raleigh Arts. United Arts distributes Artist Support Grant funds for 5 counties, so that's Wake County, Harnett County, Chatham County, Johnston County, and Lee County. If you reside in one of those 5 counties, you are in the right place. If you do not reside in any of those 5 counties, please check the North Carolina Arts Council website to find the appropriate arts council that is managing this program for your county. Through this program, individual artists as well as unincorporated groups of collaborating artists can apply for up to $1,500 to support their professional and artistic development. The current application that is open now is for funding for the 2025 calendar year. So awarded funds must be spent between January and December of 2025. The deadline to apply for this cycle of funding is September 1st of 2024. For some context on the scale of this program, last year we awarded $82,000 across 57 out of the 128 applications that we received. Okay, so who is eligible to apply for these funds? Artist support grants are open to all genres and artistic disciplines. Artists at any stage in their career may apply, whether you're just starting out or if you've been an established artist for years, you are eligible to apply. This program is for individual artists, but groups of unincorporated artists may also apply. Meaning, if you are part of a music group or an artist collective, or if you're collaborating with one or more other artists on a project, you are welcome to apply as a group of artists, but not as an incorporated business. For example, if you have a rap group and that rap group has an LLC, you cannot apply as the LLC, but you could still apply as individual artists. If you do have questions about your specific situation and whether or not this applies to you, please feel free to email me before you start your application. All applicants must also be at least 18 years of age to apply. be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and must currently reside within one of those 5 county areas for this program. Again, that is Chatham County, Harnett County, Johnston County, Lee County, or Wake County. Not only do applicants need to reside in those counties, but they must have lived within those counties for at least 1 year from the application deadline. So as long as you've lived in one or more of those counties since or before September 1st of last year, 2023, then you are eligible. If you reside in another county, again, please reach out to your county's Arts Council for their grant application. Finally, previous grantees must wait at least 2 years to apply again. So if you were awarded funds through this program for 2023 or 2024, you cannot apply this year, but you can apply after 2 years have passed. And remember, if you are applying as a group, then all members must meet all eligibility requirements. I do see a question in the chat about individuals. An individual cannot apply as an LLC. We cannot send funds to an LLC. You can still apply as an individual. So maybe your name is your name, you could apply through that and not, Schrader Art Studios or whatever your name of your LLC is. You would not be able to apply as an LLC, only as an individual. All right, so now that we know who is eligible, let's talk about who is not eligible to apply. These are mostly specific situations that will not apply to most folks, but if they apply to you, or if you're not sure if they apply to you, please email me before you spend a bunch of time writing your application. Groups that have received any form of direct funding from the North Carolina Arts Council for 2024 or 2025 are not eligible to apply for this program. Current board and staff members of Chatham Arts Council, Harnett County Government, Johnston County Arts Council, Lee County Arts Council, or United Arts Council, as well as their immediate family members, are not eligible to receive funds through this program due to the conflict of interest. So I cannot apply for this grant. Arts Council board members cannot apply for this grant, and neither can their children or spouses. Another ineligible group is currently enrolled students. Students that are enrolled in any degree-seeking program may not apply for funding. However, if you will be graduating before the 2025 calendar year begins, you could still apply, as you would not be actively enrolled in an degree-seeking program during the project period, which is calendar year of 2025. So if you graduate before the end of the year, if you're graduating this fall semester or this summer, you could still be eligible to apply. You cannot be currently enrolled at any point during the project period of the calendar year 2025. And as I said before, 2023 and 2024 grantees may not apply for funding for this cycle. All right, so what exactly does the Artist Support Grant fund? What types of items can you request for funding in your application? This program is designed to support the growth of artists, so there are a wide variety of things that you can apply for funding for. Some examples of appropriate requests would be to fund a specific project that will enhance your skills or allow you to experiment with new tools or skills, an idea or a project that will enhance your abilities to create work, or your capacity to bring your work to new audiences. Now, you don't need a specific project to apply with. Applicants may also request funding for general items that will help them grow their careers, such as creating or presenting new work, like buying art supplies, purchasing equipment, renting studio space, or purchasing frames for new works. Funds may go towards promoting your career, such as costs for web hosting or design, documenting your work, or other marketing costs, training such as attending workshops or conferences, as well as relevant travel expenses such as the gas, hotel, and food costs incurred during a trip to a conference, during a photo shoot, while you're traveling to various locations for a film shoot, just as some examples. Again, these are all examples of appropriate funding requests, but this is not an all-exhaustive list. I wanted to take a second to emphasize that this program aims to directly fund artists by putting unrestricted funds into artists' hands. Meaning, when you apply for funding, up to half of your budget may be used to pay yourself. We refer to this as an artist fee. Artist fees are funds that can be kept for yourself for any use and does not need to be reported to us on how it was spent. Basically, if you write your application requesting the full $1,500, then half or $750 of that budget can go towards marketing, supplies, or other appropriate costs, and the other half of $750 can be an artist fee that you keep for yourself. If you're requesting $1,000, then up to $500 can be your artist fee, and so on. So half of your budget can be your artist fee. I really encourage you to take advantage of that. What the grant will not fund. So while there are a large variety of things that this grant will fund, there are some things that are ineligible requests for funding. Applications requesting funding for these items will not be considered, so be sure to stay away from these requests for funding going towards any tuition or costs such as textbooks or lab fees for degree-seeking programs, because remember, currently enrolled students are not eligible for this program. Projects that support or oppose a political campaign or a specific candidate or are exclusive to a certain religious group will also not be eligible. If your project involves working with an initiative of a nonprofit organization that would benefit from these funds, that is also an ineligible request, as these funds are for individuals and not organizations. There are other funding sources for organizations. And lastly, any funding request should be focused on your growth and development as an artist. So if your application does not include anything that would help to benefit your practice or your career, it would not be highly scored. All right, so here is the rubric for the application to give you an idea of how to fulfill the 3 areas of evaluation. This rubric and all of the materials that I'm going over today are found on United Arts website under Grants, Artist Support Grants. And you are able to view and download these guidelines and the rubric. They're available in both English and Spanish. This rubric and the information that I'm sharing today is the same information that will be shared with our community panelists, that they will use this rubric to review and score applications during the review process. All right, so the 3 areas to focus on in your application are artistic merit, project feasibility, and professional development. I'll review what that means to score highly in these areas, but I do encourage you to take the time to read through this rubric completely to submit your application, before you submit your application. Okay, so artistic merit. Artistic merit means the applicant shows a serious commitment to pursuing or maintaining a career in the arts. For example, a painter who is trying to display their work in galleries or learn new techniques would score higher than someone who paints for fun on the weekends or only occasionally. Project feasibility means that your goals are realistic and achievable, and that your project is likely to be successful. Another example, a band who has been performing together for a while, looking to cut their first record, would be a more feasible project than, say, someone who has just picked up an instrument and they're trying to record an album straight away. So try to make sure that your goals with this funding should align with where you are in your career and that the project you're proposing is feasible. The last area is professional development, or if this funding would be meaningful in expanding or promoting the applicant's career. So a sculptor requesting funds for supplies to create a new body of work so that they may apply to exhibitions would score higher than a sculptor requesting funding for supplies without any goals of how they would improve their skills, improve their practice, or improve their career as an artist with these funds. So when you're writing your application, be sure to include the how. How will these funded items help you grow as an artist? All right, the application review process. Once all applications have been submitted, reminder the deadline is September 1st. The first step of the process is being reviewed by United Arts staff to ensure that each application is fully eligible, that you meet the residency requirements, and all of those other eligibility requirements that I went over. Eligible applications are then sorted into groups based on their artistic discipline, and each group is reviewed by a community panel. Each panel consists of 3 community panelists who will review and score the applications based on that same rubric that I just went over. Community panelists are assigned based on their knowledge and expertise of each respective artistic discipline. So the music apps are reviewed by musicians, dance apps by dancers, etc. Selected panelists might be established artists, they might be art professors, arts administrators, or otherwise experienced and knowledgeable about that specific discipline. Panelists are anonymous, but they do all give feedback that I'm able to share with you anonymously after the application process has ended. If you do want feedback on your application, I offer that whether you got funded or not. After the panel review process, funding recommendations are reviewed and they must be approved by both United Arts staff and the United Arts board. All applicants are notified of their funding status in December of 2024, and grant funds are awarded to the grantees at the start of the 2025 calendar year. The application. All right, so now I'll go over the application itself. We use a platform for our application called Submittable. If you've never used Submittable before, then you will have to make an account, but it is completely free. And the great thing about Submittable is that it will save your progress within the application once you sign in and start work on your application. Links to the guidelines, the rubric, and the application in both English and Spanish can be found on our Artist Support Grant page. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this for a second and switch over so I can walk you through the application. So again, this is United Arts page. I'm dropping this link in the chat just in case you do not have it. So when looking at the United Arts website, there is a section called Community Grants, and that will bring you to the Artist Support Grant page. This page has all of the information that you need to complete the application. About halfway down, you'll find application materials, including the guidelines and the timeline, which has all of the information from this session, as well as a link to the application. And these materials are available in Spanish as well. And once this session recording is ready, I will have that link right here so that you can refer back to this session as needed. All right, so now I'm going to open the actual application and walk you through each section. All right, so this is the application. My biggest piece of advice is to read all of the instructions thoroughly and carefully for each section. Do not rush through this application. Do not try to complete it within one go the night before the deadline. The first section here will be identifying and contact information. So your name or your artist group name, as well as an individual contact for the application, address, and then basic details like your county of residence, email address, contact information. If you have a website or social media accounts, that is not required to apply. You do not need a website or social media account to apply, but if you have them, you can link them here. We also ask for you to identify your artistic discipline, and we also have a section about demographic information. This section is completely optional and it is self-identified. There are no drop downs. You can type in whatever your identity is. And again, that is optional. The third section is where you will put your grant amount request. So this is the number of how much funds you are requesting, up to $1,500. You will also be asked to summarize your funding request. So this section is just a simple statement, an overview of what you are looking to fund. The fourth section is the actual meat of the application. This proposal description is your one chance to really go through all of the details of your application. This is where we'll ask for the full project description. That's where you can lay out the who, what, where, when, why, and how of your project. Again, please be sure to include attainable project goals and how you plan to reach them. We also do ask for an artist statement and an artist CV or an artist resume. Pre-existing ones are fine. You do not need to write a brand new artist CV or brand new artist statement just for this application. But if you do not have an artist statement or an artist CV or artist resume already, I encourage you to make one and save one for your records because a lot of applications will ask for that information. The next section is the budget. And remember, up to 50% of your funds can be kept to pay yourself. I have an artist fee right here for $750. So we have description of expense. This is the amount that this grant would cover. So how much of this funding is going towards each item? And maybe some items cost a little bit more. Maybe you have another grant or you're paying out of pocket for some items. This is the amount that the artist, you, the applicant, or another source, if you do have a sponsorship or a grant agreement from someone else, that funds would be listed here. And then the totals would total up here. So as you can see, I have $1,500 is my grant request, with half of that is an artist fee. And some of them were a little bit more, so I'm going to pay $100 out of pocket. So my total project budget is $1,600. So there's also a project income area, and this is where you can list those other sources of funding if you have them. If you are contributing funds, this is where you put your artist contribution, or if you have them from other places, you would put them here. And again, the grant amount, $1,500 up to $1,500 would be listed there. So the total of the income for the project should match the total of the expenses for the project. Having additional funds for your project is not a requirement. It does show the panel that you do have commitment to your project if you're paying out of pocket for certain things to make sure it's successful. But again, it is not required to have any additional funds to be able to apply for funding. So under the budget, we have a section of budget documentation. This means how did you come up with the numbers in your budget? So for my budget up here, I have, $300 or $200 for a new microphone, $300 to hire a sound engineer, $200 for a web designer, and $50 to cover my transportation to the recording studio. So you really want to document where these numbers are coming from. So maybe I include a screenshot of the microphone and this cost from an audio supply store. I would include a screenshot from an audio engineer's website listing their cost for services. I could include a copy of the quote from the web designer that I got before filling out this budget. And then I also could screenshot a list of bus fare rates for the line that I would take in the directions to the studio. So this budget documentation section is optional, but I strongly encourage you to fill it out. It goes a long way in strengthening your application because it shows the panel that you've put in the time, planning, and thought into your budget, and that these numbers didn't just come from nowhere, that you did your research, you know exactly what this project is going to cost you, and that's where these numbers come from. Again, I have half of my budget as an artist fee. You do not need to document the artist fee. We know that you would just keep that money to pay yourself. We don't need any documentation for that. The next section is work samples, and you can upload those directly. We have an upload section with lots of different file types accepted. You can also link to a Dropbox folder, a Google Drive folder, or something like that that has work samples included in it. Please read through and actually follow the instructions for the work samples before uploading so that you know exactly what you can and cannot upload. For example, for writing, the panel is not going to read more than 12 pages per applicant. So try not to submit your entire novel. Maybe you only submit a couple pages of your novel because nobody is going to read the entire novel. We have a lot of applications to read through. So make sure that you're paying attention to these guidelines when uploading your samples. There is also an optional section below for letters of recommendation or any other supporting documents that you'd like to include. This is an optional section. If you do provide these documents, it can strengthen your application, but they are not required. And then at the very end of the application, we do have a couple questions just to collect data about how you heard about the opportunity. We also ask you to certify that you did read the guidelines, that you are eligible to apply for this funding, that all of the work included in this application is your own work, and that all of the information given is accurate. All right, and remember, if you are able to save your progress within the submittable portal, you can see there's a save draft button and a submit button. If you would like feedback on your application, please email me to set up a consultation. I am happy to review your drafted application before it is fully submitted. Just make sure that you email me with plenty of time before the deadline. If you ask for feedback on your application the day before the deadline or a couple days before the deadline, I very likely will not be able to accommodate that request. So please give me enough time to read your application, give it some thought, and give some constructed feedback before the September 1st deadline. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my slides. All right, so just a couple things that I want to reiterate. For your budget, remember that all of the funds must be spent during the project period, which is the calendar year of 2025 for this cycle. You cannot apply for funds to retroactively apply it to purchases. If you bought a piece of equipment in 2024, you can't say, well, I'll use these grant funds to pay for that when the purchase is already made. You also cannot save your grant funds for future purchases outside of the year of 2025. All of the funds must be spent during the project period, which is calendar year 2025. The project itself can extend earlier or later be outside of 2025. Maybe it's an ongoing project that lasts several years. That is perfectly fine. The project does not have to only happen during 2025. The funds have to be spent during 2025. All purchases must be made during 2025. And remember, again, up to 50% or half of your budget can be kept to pay yourself an artist fee. The items in your budget should also be consistent with your project description and your overall goals for your funding. When we're reading the narrative, your project description, it should make sense when we're looking at your budget. They shouldn't be two completely different things. You shouldn't be asking for funding for certain items and then you're never bringing it up in your project description. We need to know what you're spending the money on, and how that's going to help your project or help your career and help you grow as an artist. All right, also a couple things about work samples. Be sure to include them. Please include work samples if you would like the panel to have a good idea of what it is that you do. These should be high quality images, videos, or other file types, and they should be relevant to your funding request. So for example, maybe you're an artist that works in a lot of different mediums. You paint, you're a welder, you build furniture, and you make music. But for this grant application, you're really only applying for funding for your paintings. Then your work samples should only be about your painting. You do not need to include work samples about any unrelated projects. Make sure that your work samples are relevant to your application. Any uploaded samples should be of your work only, and no one should ever claim another person's work as their own in this application or in any other circumstance. A key thing to remember is that the panelists that are reviewing these applications will only have access to what you provide them. They cannot and will not spend extra time tracking down your work online, scrolling through pages of a website, or trying to find you online. They will only be able to see what you have put in your application. So if you have linked to works, if you've linked to your website, if you uploaded work samples, they will have access to that. But if it is not in your application, the panelists will not see it. Okay, so this is my last slide, and then I'll open it up for questions. So all applicants will be notified of their funding status in December of 2024. So whether or not you've been selected for a grant, you will be notified in December. If you do receive funding, there is a grantee agreement that all grantees must sign before receiving funds. I encourage you to read it before you sign it. It is a very simple document. And once that is signed, you receive the entirety of your grant funds upfront. Within that grant agreement, there will be details on how to credit United Arts for your grant, as well as other things to know as a grantee. I also host a grantee workshop each year with more details and to answer any questions, but I'm also available year-round for additional support to grantees as well as prospective grantees if you just want feedback on how to strengthen your application for next time. All of the granted funds must be spent by December 31st, 2025. And there is a simple final report that is required for all grantees to submit. But again, all of that information is shared with grantees after they receive funding. All right, so that is all that I have, and now we can go ahead and answer some questions. And as a reminder, if you do have extremely specific questions, please email me directly so that I have enough time today to address as many questions as possible. So I'm going to go through the chat first. Let's see. So the first one was, can individuals apply as an LLC? Again, no LLCs or organizations can apply. This is for individuals or unincorporated groups. So you can apply as a group, as a collective, but not as an LLC or business entity. You must apply as individuals, and the same goes for an individual. If you have an LLC, do not apply with your LLC. Apply as an individual person. Okay, I have another question. Would you please display the green slide for paying oneself again? So I will go back to that slide. It's a good reminder. Make sure you include an artist fee in your budget. Pay yourself with some of these grant dollars. If you have a specific question about this slide, please let me know. Another one in the chat, would someone looking to develop their ability or capacity to organize or curate arts events qualify? For example, creating a poetry event series. This could be an eligible request. I would just make sure that you're minding the rubric and bringing it back to yourself. It's okay to be selfish in this application. There are lots of other grant projects where you're supposed to support the community. This grant program is to support you as an artist. So if you are proposing funding for creating an event series, make sure that you talk about how that would benefit you as an artist. How would that help your career grow as an artist? And that it is an eligible request, but to receive higher scoring and be more likely to be funded, you want to make sure that you're looking at that rubric and thinking about how that will make you grow in your profession as an artist. Let's see. Can you define what you mean by cultural significance under the artistic merit section of evaluation criteria? So let's pull up the rubric. So artistic merit. So example of a fully funded, high scoring application in the artistic merit category, the applicant shows a serious professional commitment to pursuing or maintaining a career as a practicing artist. The work sample shows artistic excellence, there's originality, inventiveness, or cultural significance in the proposed project. So by cultural significance, we really mean something that is significant to the culture right now, something that is affecting a lot of people, something maybe we had someone that was making work about, what it means to be a Black father figure. And they wanted a camera to improve their documentary abilities as an artist. And that was a culturally significant project to them and their practice. That could mean anything that is significant to you and the culture right now. So it is a broad term. It's more important is how you connect that cultural significance to your own career as an artist. So maybe you say that you want to talk about world hunger and world hunger relief. Okay, that's great, and that might be culturally significant, but how does that apply to you as an artist, and how would that actually help you grow as an artist? Maybe it is creating new work, maybe it's applying to specific shows, but make sure that you're tying that piece back to you and how you can grow as an artist. How will the funds be paid out? So again, in December is when you will be notified if you have received funding or not. Once you signed the grant agreement as a grantee, funds are sent out in January of 2025. And we do give the option to pay via direct ACH direct deposit or via a mailed check. Grant funding states that it encourages experimentation. Okay, so I have a new direction or way of painting that I want to pursue, but I don't have multiple samples to show that new direction. What do you advise? So great question. I would definitely, in your application, talk about how this is a new technique that you would want to pursue. Maybe if you're purchasing specific equipment or tools, you could elaborate on exactly how would they be used. And if you have any experience using those tools before and you just haven't owned it for yourself, you could maybe do smaller scale works of examples of what it might look like, or sketch out examples of what you would be looking to make with the materials. But you can also, I also encourage you to include current work samples of just what your work looks like right now and elaborate on how it would be different given this new technique or given these new funds to pursue taking classes or, you know, whatever it might be to figure out this new technique that you're trying to pursue. If you do have any more specific questions, please, my email is open, reach out to me. What is an artist CV? Please clarify. And if one has a couple of different associated financial funding requests, can they be combined? So an artist CV is something that is just a document that is laying out your artistic experience as a professional artist. So it is not a resume of, you know, okay, I've worked at Pizza Hut and then I worked at this bank, and we do not need any of that information. Your artist CV is only things about your artistic career. There's a lot of templates for free that you can find online. I encourage you to Google for those and figure out one that might work best for you. But the information we're looking for is if you have any education experience, if you've taken any classes, but also maybe what exhibitions you've been part of, if you're in any collections, if you've taught any classes, anything relevant to your artistic career. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by having different funding requests and how to combine them. My simple answer would be no, but please, I encourage you to reach out to me and email me because I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, and that sounds like a specific scenario. Another question, would this grant be awarded to a person whose art career is part-time or only if it's your full-time profession? Great question. We will never make you be only surviving off of your art to be able to get grant funded. That is a very hard thing to do, even for people that have been practicing their entire life. You are perfectly allowed to have any types of jobs outside of your art experience that help support you and supplement your income. You do not need to be a full-time artist to apply for this grant funding. I know very few full-time artists myself. So short answer is no, you do not have to be a full-time artist. You can, whatever jobs that you have outside of your artistic career, honestly, it's none of our business. We're not going to ask for it. You don't have to tell us about any of that. We're just focused on your artistic practice. Would a writer, director, or drama therapist be eligible to apply for this grant? If you are a therapist that is assisting writers, directors, or actors, things like that, then that would not necessarily be an area of an artistic discipline that we offer funding for. However, if you are a therapist for writers, directors, but you are also a writer, director, then that would be an eligible request for funding, something that ties back to your own artistic practice. We do not consider therapy professionals is not under the umbrella of the different disciplines that we have for our artistic disciplines that we fund for this program. Oof, okay, that looks like I got through a lot of the questions or all of the questions in the chat. Feel free to unmute if you do have any other questions.
Hey, I was going to write this in the chat, but I didn't want to come off confusing. I think you mentioned this earlier about details about what to put in a spreadsheet to give to you that are providing us with the grant. And you said some specific things like equipment, classes, but there were some other things that I didn't even think about as an artist to begin with. There were some other specifics that okay, so this is it right here. Okay. So this is what I was kind of looking for to jot down again in some notes. Grant.
Yeah, so this, a lot of grant programs are super specific and they only want to fund certain things. The great thing about this grant program is that there's more things that we will fund than we will not fund. So if you do not, if your project doesn't have any of these items that we will not fund, chances are it's eligible, it's an eligible funding request. If you do have any questions specific to your application about what can or can't be funded, I encourage you to email me before you spend a bunch of time writing your application. Just email me and check if you want to be sure, and I can let you know what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate for this particular application.
Okay, thank you.
I also saw in the chat, will the grant cover advertising on websites and professional social media accounts? Yes, absolutely. So that would fall under enhancing your ability to bring your work to new audiences. Marketing and advertising is definitely something that is a valuable asset to an artist's career and that can help you grow as an artist. So improving your ability to make sales and get your work in front of more people, that is absolutely something that this grant project will fund.
One more thing. Would there be, for those of us that are not as experienced in putting these things together as independent artists, would there be any more guidance after these calls that would help us do things correctly and efficiently?
Absolutely. Another great question. So this webinar is being recorded, and as soon as that recording is available, I'll put it online so you can go back and listen to what I said if you need to. The guidelines that are linked on the website also have a lot of information in a written out format if that is more helpful to you. But I also offer one-on-one consultations to anyone that will take me up on it. I encourage you to take me up on that offer. If you write your application and you submit it in Submittable, I can actually see it and open it for editing and give feedback to you. You just have to send me an email and say, hey, I just sent in my application. Can you take a look at it? Here are the questions I have, or I just want general feedback, and I can do that. The only stipulation is that I cannot do that if I don't have enough time to do that before the deadline. I cannot give anyone feedback on their application after that September 1st deadline has passed. I will not let anyone edit their application after that deadline has passed because it's not fair to everyone that followed the rules and got their application in on time. But if you give me enough time before September 1, I will be happy to look at your application and give you one-on-one feedback. That can be via email. We can schedule a phone or a Zoom call, whatever is most helpful to you. I am here as a resource throughout your time working on your application.
I
Let's
have a
see.
question.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
Um, to clarify my earlier question, I was referring to a couple of different associated financial funding requests. Can they be combined? That question. For clarification, I mean, for example, the purchase of a microphone to take an informational course on the subject matter that I am developing, and or record a demonstration CD of my own. So all of them are associated. Can I include all of those different assets of the one project?
Yes, it is completely up to you what you do and do not include in your application. But if you are requesting funding for it, if the grant dollars for this fund will be applied to those certain items, then it has to be in your application because you have to tell us what you would be spending these grant funds are. And again, I'd be happy to answer this question more in depth if you want to reach out to me after the session.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yep. Some more questions in the chat. If the project is already underway and some funds have been spent, do you want to see that in the full project budget, even though the grant would not apply for those costs incurred? Again, this is completely up to you. We absolutely have to see in your budget where each of these grant dollars will go. We have to know what you would be spending the grant funds are. But if there are other costs in your project, it is up to you. So it does tell the panel, like, look, this person paid out of pocket for these things. It's an ongoing project. That does build confidence in reviewing your applications and scoring them. But there's also a fine line between, you know, oh, I paid $100 out of pocket versus I've put in tens of thousands of dollars of my own money into this project. Maybe be careful about how much you're saying that you spent on this project, just because in the eyes of the panel, it has come up in past review sessions of, you know, this person can afford to spend $10,000. Is this 1,500 really going to make that much of a difference versus of this person that can't afford to pay any money out of pocket and needs the 1,500? They're probably going to opt to fund that person over the one that can afford to put tens of thousands of dollars into a project, if that makes sense. So you're welcome to include some past fees if you want to, but that is entirely up to you. The only thing in your budget that is required is for us to see what that $1,500 that you're requesting funding for will go towards. Are tech items like computers or software acceptable to ask for, i.e. for design work, improving image photo formatting and applications? Short answer, yes, absolutely yes. Anything that will help you in your artistic career, not just from making work, but from all of those things that go into managing an arts career, marketing yourself, documenting your work, anything like that is absolutely an eligible request. I just recommend that if you request funding for an item, you tell us why that funding is needed and how that item will help you grow your career as an artist. Is there a list of eligible independent artists available for us to check out? I am not sure exactly what you are asking. A list of artists.
I'm asking, like, some are very obvious, actor. Well, what is a director, for example? Would that be an eligible independent? Is that considered an artist, a director?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, that would be an art form.
Right. So my question is really, is there a list so we know that, you know, not to sway away from certain artists? I may think something is an artist and the panel may not think so. Is there a list that we could look at?
There is not an all-encompassing list because the list is growing all the time. So I would encourage you to email me directly and I can help.
Okay, thank you.
Can you submit multiple applications for different projects? No, you cannot. I encourage, like, you can technically do that, but please do not do that because you will only be competing with yourself for funding. You're going to make it harder to get funded if the panel sees that you have a bunch of applications in. I highly encourage you to not do that. While technically you can submit multiple applications if you would like to, but I really strongly encourage you to not do that. Maybe apply to other programs or apply the following year, but having multiple applications, you're increasing the pool of needed requested funds when we're not increasing the pool of available funds. You're just going to be competing with yourself and you're going to make it harder for you to get funded if you have multiple applications that you're trying to get funded. So I encourage you to not do it, but technically you can if you really would like to. All right, do we have any other questions? Okay, beautiful. And again, I am always available via email. My email is listed on the website. It's been in the chat. It is in this presentation. And you can reach out to me at any time and I'd be happy. If you would rather schedule a phone call with me, just let me know. We can do that too. And again, I'm available for support throughout your application process, as long as you give me enough time before the deadline. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And that is all that I have for y'all today. Thank you so much for joining us. And as soon as this recording is done processing, sometimes it takes a minute. It might not be until tomorrow, but as soon as I can, I'll have that link online so you can refer back to this session as needed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest.
Thanks.
Thank you.